It is all about March Madness right now. We have reaction from the Zags game last night.
And plus, I'm tracking your forecast where we're going to see a little bit more sunshine with cool temps.
Good morning. Welcome to Up With KREM. Happy Sunday. I'm Nicole Hernandez. Let's get right to Jenny Power. Jenny, what is this Sunday looking like for us?
Well, for this Sunday, we've entered the spring season and we actually are going to see a little bit more sun to go along with it. Yes, finally, we've been wanting some of that. So that's what I'm tracking when it comes to your forecast. Temperatures today, though, are going to be feeling a little bit cooler in comparison to where we were at yesterday. So that is just something to keep in mind. These temperatures in the low to mid 50s are actually closer to our seasonal average, and we'll see that further along in our extended forecast. But enjoy the sun today, the calmer winds. The clouds, they do make their return into tomorrow, and we hang on to some pretty chilly mornings now as well. As we move through our futurecast, we'll see the return this late afternoon into early evening of some partly cloudy skies, but still with these conditions, decent sunrises and sunsets is what we've been seeing. As far as your temperatures go region-wide today, we're looking at some low 50s for Coeur d'Alene as well as Wilbur, mid 50s for Ritzville, upper 50s through Walla Walla, and still looking at some low to mid 60s out toward the Yakima Valley and into Richland. So these temperatures again are closer to our average with some drier conditions, but by the middle of next week, I am tracking some changes, the chance for even some mountain snow and the return of breezy winds. Look at that though ahead.
Yesterday, Gonzaga men's basketball played Texas in the round of 32. Today, we have a recap from KREM 2 Sports Director Andrew Quinn.
This is the second year in a row that Gonzaga's NCAA tournament journey has ended here in the round of 32. But obviously, just like Graham said, a ton of adversity was thrown this team's way this season. You go all the way back to Tyon Grant-Foster's eligibility battle, and then, of course, the shocking injury to star forward Braden Huff. I spoke with Braden first up here after the game, and guys, it was just heartbreaking hearing Braden wish he was out there with his team, and we hear from the other seniors who weren't up at the podium with their thoughts on Gonzaga's season ending tonight.
Super proud of this group, just the resilience they showed all year. I mean, with my injury and then a bunch of injuries they've kind of dealt with, and I think it was no different tonight. They fought till the end, just unlucky, but I love these guys, and I would have done anything to be out there with them, and the fact that I wasn't able to, kind of something that's going to eat at me for a while, and but I'm proud of these guys and everything they've accomplished.
I feel like just your world just break off into a million pieces, you know. Like you said, you work so hard to get here, and like you so close to that next step, and it's just like just losing. Like this is these guys became my family.
It's the greatest team I've been on since I've started my journey in 2020, and we traded the world to be, playing next week with these guys. But we fell short, but these are my brothers for life. These are my dogs for life.
We had a great team, like togetherness. The seniors were amazing for the freshmen, for us, for me, and I will always appreciate them for what they did for us, and I love them.
Just soul-crushing stuff there in the Gonzaga locker room. Obviously, nobody thought this is where this journey would end. The Zags just ran into a red-hot Texas team who made more shots down the stretch than the Zags did. Graham Ike said he felt like his team maybe fell asleep a little bit there at the end, and unfortunately, Gonzaga's run ends here in Portland. But for now, I'm outside of the Moda Center. Andrew Quinn, I'll send it back to you guys.
It is the last day of the weekend, so hopefully you can squeeze in something fun before Monday. We've got a couple ideas. One of them is The Notebook the Musical is at the First Interstate Center for the Arts. There are 2 showings happening today. Also, a traveling team of organists is stopping by Whitworth Presbyterian Church today. They will be performing music by Bach, which is why they're calling it a Bachathon. That is at 1 p.m. East Valley High School is doing their annual fundraiser. It's the Rapid Rabbit Run, and you can run either a 5-mile course or a 3-mile course. That's at 10 a.m. today. The National RV Show is still here in town. It's at the Spokane Convention Center, ending today. As always, they will have a ton of RVs to show off. Well, the city of Spokane says their housing programs have been working. They say fewer people are becoming homeless and more people are finding stability. That data comes from the city's 2025 longitudinal systems analysis. KREM 2's Connor McAvoy breaks down that report.
We are looking at coordination in a way that we just simply didn't have before.
Spokane Mayor Lisa Brown says less people are entering homelessness and more people are leaving it. She credits outreach teams and scattered shelter sites being carried out over the past couple of years.
Our goal is to get the outreach teams to be as present as possible.
Brown's comments follow a report on the city's progress known as the Longitudinal Systems Analysis, or LSA. It's an annual report that provides data on how people experiencing homelessness interact with services over time. This is different from the point-in-time count system, which measures how many people are experiencing homelessness in a specific area. This is a year-long report submitted to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development looking at how people respond to homeless services over time. It found the amount of people using city-funded homeless services dropped from 7,200 people in 2024 to 6,400 in 2025. It also shows the amount of people exiting homelessness in 2025 rose by roughly 32%. Those leaving emergency shelters to permanent housing grew by about 86%, and the amount of folks returning to homelessness dropped by roughly 43%.
It's very expensive, it's not supported by federal dollars, and so it's a difficult thing for us to operationalize. But certainly one of our takeaways is how do we make continued investments in transitional housing so that folks are more stable before they're permanently housed independently.
Connor McAvoy, KREM 2 News.
An update this week, Washington State University canceled their equine surgery elective. The program had gotten backlash online and even death threats. Animal rights group PETA says their supporters sent more than 36,000 emails to stop the surgeries. WSU says its animal welfare program complies with the Animal Welfare Act, the Department of Agriculture policies, and American Veterinary Medical Association guidelines. They also said the College of Veterinary Medicine was already planning to end this course after the spring semester. Students will get full credit for the work they've already done. The University of Idaho has seen their largest ever spring enrollment. Overall enrollment for spring 2026 is more than 12,000 students, which is 400 more than the previous record. Undergraduate enrollment is up 3.5%, and then total enrollment is up about 2.5%. And a developing story this week, the U.S. Postal Service says it's running out of money and fast. The Postmaster General has proposed raising the cost of postage stamps from 78 cents to 95 cents. He says without the change, it's possible that soon no one would get mail.
At our current rate, we'll be out of cash in less than 12 months.
USPS does not receive regular funding, but it has been bailed out several times. This morning, we're continuing our Women's History Month series. We're chatting with the SPS board president and co-owner of Indigenous Eats after the break. Plus, see the new technology that could help monitor a baby's health between appointments. For Women's History Month this month, we are inviting several members of our community that are influential women. And today we have Jenny Slagle with us. So Jenny, I would love you to introduce yourself and who you are for our community.
Yeah, thank you. So glad to be here. Jenny Slagle. I am a member of the Yakima Nation and Northern Arapaho descendant. I've lived here in Spokane for 26 years now. We've raised our 4 kids here, and I am a small business owner, and I serve on the Spokane Public Schools Board of Directors.
If there's anything to know about you, it's just that you feel like you do everything. Where does the energy come from to have your hands in all these pots?
Oh gosh, I think definitely there is passion behind everything that I do and purpose. So I've gained a lot of clarity over what I want to do and where I want to be in the spaces that I try to put myself in, to make sure that that our Native community is represented. So that can come a little bit easier when you have that kind of purpose behind you.
Does that, I'm assuming, come from your background as being Native?
Yes, yeah. So I grew up on the Yakima Reservation, surrounded by my community, and recently I've been reflecting that I really didn't mean to move away from home, and I'm thankful that it's only about 200 miles to get back home. But I've built a life here. My kids, all four of the kids are still here. My mom's here. We have our small businesses now and really anchored here. So I am thankful that I also get to be a part of the growing Native community here in different spaces.
And coming from a Native community and as a woman, that, you know, that's a space that you don't see a crazy number of people moving into high performing public roles. And so as somebody who has successfully done that and in a very respected way, what would you say to somebody who is maybe watching from home that, you know, could inspire them?
Oh, that's a great question. I think just staying true to yourself and where you come from. You know, that seems like an overused statement, but I really have really stayed true to, like, knowing where I come from and who I come from has really given me that strength and resilience to be able to overcome a lot of barriers that are in the way of coming into these types of positions.
What are some of the things that you would say the community can do to help break down those barriers even further?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of social barriers as well, you know, childcare, earning a living wage, being able to be supported so that you can support your family is definitely one of the major things that I think society as a whole could, you know, we could improve.
And I'm tracking a little bit more sunshine for the day today and cooler temperatures, how long this will last, and some midweek changes ahead.
Our Seattle sister station talked with a scientist who is working to let pregnant women monitor their babies' heart rates from their phones. Take a look.
It's one of the most telltale ways to monitor fetal health, tracking their heart rate from the moment their tiny heart beats.
It tells you, like, from outside, how is the fetus doing.
Doctors use Doppler ultrasound technology to monitor a fetus's heart rate at a clinic. Well, now there could be an app for that using a smartphone.
We place the phone on the belly of the pregnant person, facing the microphone, facing the the abdomen, and then we start our app.
Pujita Garg is a PhD student at the University of Washington School of Computer Science and Engineering. She and a team of researchers are developing the app that she calls DopPhone. Because mobile phone mics are not nearly sensitive enough to capture the subtle frequencies of a fetal heartbeat, Garg and her team found a way to mimic ultrasound using machine learning to analyze the recorded audio combined with patient information.
We use off-the-shelf smartphones and use its speaker and microphone to act like a transmitter.
So what about reliability? In a clinical study with 23 pregnant women in their second and third trimesters, Garg's app estimated fetal heart rate with an average error of 2 beats per minute, or BPM. The clinically accepted range is within 8 BPM. Basically, pretty accurate.
We tested on different patients, different BMI, different age group.
Garg says the technology is still in early stages. Patients will not find this in the App Store anytime soon. The next steps include broader out-of-clinic testing with more participants to improve the AI before any public rollout. For now, Garg's inspiration for this app endures, which is to close the gap in healthcare disparities. For women in rural or low-resource areas, getting to an ultrasound, let alone reserve time for it, is not always easy.
There are a lot of maternity care deserts. marked areas or marked counties that have very low access to these obstetric care. So people have to travel, or the expected mother has to travel long distances to reach the first nearest hospital.
Garg also understands the caveats to at-home monitoring and envisions the app being used in partnership with the patient's doctor, not as a replacement for medical care. The app would be designed to send the heart rate data to a physician so that the patient and medical professional could analyze the data together. Garg's findings were published in the journal The Proceedings of the ACM on Interactive, Mobile, Wearable, and Ubiquitous Technologies.
Thanks so much for joining us here on a Sunday. I'm Jenny Power, breaking down your weekend forecast. And folks, as we're waking up on this Sunday, it is a little bit chilly out there after some of our overnight lows actually fell near the freezing mark. As we move forward, our temperatures are trending closer to average, especially for this time of year. And we're catching more of a break, especially when it comes to a little bit more sunshine factored in there. So enjoy it while we have it. Our winds are also going to be trending lighter today and into the start of our work week. Cloudy conditions, though, they come back in for us really on Monday, as well as some slightly cooler temperatures. So that is something to be aware of if you're making any plans. But daytime highs that we're seeing here, low 50s now for Spokane and Coeur d'Alene. We've also got some low 50s up through Bonners Ferry and Sandpoint, upper 40s for Libby and western Montana. 52 for Moscow and Pullman this afternoon, 59 for Moses Lake, 60 for Yakima, and 64 south to the Tri-Cities and into the Richland area. Now, as far as what's to come, yes, we are still going to be dealing with some partly cloudy skies at times. We've got better chances of seeing some nice breaks of sunshine, and we actually hang on to a relatively dry forecast here to start off the work week as well. It's going to change a little bit in our extended forecast as we are going to see the chance for some more spring showers popping up, but we actually have a couple of fairly mild days here ahead of us. Our winds are also trending calmer from the west today in comparison to still those breezy winds that we were dealing with on our Saturday, but mild winds are going to trend for us even through the start of this upcoming work week. It's by Tuesday that we start to see the return of some breezy conditions. But in general, as we take a look here, region-wide, even though our temperatures were well above average on Thursday and Friday, we are still trending technically a little bit above that average mark for this time of year. Across the U.S., we've been monitoring for some strong high pressure that has really heated up parts of the southwest U.S. and even led to some record-breaking temperatures that direction. And so we are feeling some of those slight impacts as we are just on the very northern edge of that. Now, as we break down daytime highs here throughout the U.S., I mean, take a look at Phoenix, looking at triple digits this afternoon. 87 for Albuquerque, low 50s, again, just slightly above our seasonal average for this time of year, but very spring-like for the inland Northwest.
The idea being that by filling the gaps, the data void over the ocean, we can improve prediction much farther than what we can do right now.
The Northwest is often the target of atmospheric rivers. We'll take you along as NOAA's famed hurricane hunters work to better understand them. The Northwest is welcoming a special kind of storm chaser, pilots who fly into the currents of atmospheric rivers. Let's join them now in the latest Environment Northwest special. Here's Leah Pizzetti.
December of 2025.
There are going to be some serious impacts to communities.
Torrential rain and catastrophic flooding hit every western state.
The flooding levels we're looking at are potentially historic in nature.
From the Northwest,
all of western Washington should be on alert.
To the Golden State.
The storm system that soaked our state this week is blamed for at least 3 deaths.
Across the West Coast, 5 reported deaths, all blamed on multiple atmospheric rivers in 1 month alone. That's why scientists are bringing in the people who don't fly around storms,
contact tower 118.7.
but into them.
Hurricane season starts June 1st, goes to the end of November, and we're on call for anything and everything during that time.
The hurricane hunters gather crucial information that shapes accurate forecasts, but despite the name, that's not their only job.
You are clear for drops unless otherwise stated.
This is one of the aircrafts used by the hurricane hunters in the summer and the fall. Their fleet flies into and around hurricanes to measure those storms. but it's not taking a break in the winter. This aircraft spends the winter on the West Coast, flying into atmospheric rivers to better understand these strengthening, powerful storms.
So we'll transect the atmospheric river one time, come back around.
For the last 10 years, the hurricane hunters have spent the first 3 months of the year based in Portland.
Really deep trough here, more narrow jet streams.
Doing exactly what they do for hurricanes.
Today's atmospheric river mission involves 24 drop zones.
But over the Pacific Ocean, measuring atmospheric rivers.
They are literally river in the sky. The only difference for rivers is that rather than transporting water, the transport is about water vapor.
A massive plume of moisture, thousands of miles long, that can transport 10 trillion gallons of water per day. Too many can cause flooding, not enough can cause drought.
But for the West, what really matters are atmospheric rivers. And so that is kind of been overlooked by the last few years. That is the reason our center came about and has been growing very rapidly, because it's a very important phenomenon for the Western United States.
Luca Delle Monache is the Director of Research at the Center for Western Weather and Weather Extremes, part of Scripps Institution of Oceanography out of UC San Diego. He says research into these storms didn't really start until the early 2000s, with his colleagues leading the way.
Some of the historical reason is that the weather community has been focused on other impactful events, as hurricanes, of course, tornadoes.
So his team dove headfirst into that research, working to understand the storms and increase public awareness about severity.
And I think I can claim that our center put atmospheric rivers on the weather map.
Their studies show the damage costs are projected to triple from $1 billion a year to $3 billion by the end of this century.
It's financial for all of us, you know.
Costs felt in Washington's December floods.
A lot of work. I guess if you have to sum it up, a lot of work to be done.
To help with public awareness, the center launched a scale in 2019, ranking atmospheric rivers from 1 to 5, based on maximum intensity and length of time, similar to hurricanes.
Negative 1.2.
0.2, all right.
The hurricane hunters have also become atmospheric river hunters. Each flight, a team of meteorologists watch the weather.
Yeah, I would say we're kind of on the front lines of emergency response, how people respond to storms when they make landfall.
And in the back of this jet,
A drop operator, as we call it.
a team of 2 preps something called a drop sonde to release into the sky.
First, I calibrate them.
As it falls, this narrow tube measures data like temperature, humidity, wind, and pressure.
You'll see it's just a circuit board, and it's got a couple chips, and that's it.
The data collected fills an information void. The Pacific Ocean is basically a data desert.
We do have measurements from the satellites everywhere over the oceans, but those measurements provide, for the most part, information for the top half of the atmosphere, whereas atmospheric river and atmospheric river dynamics happens at the bottom part of the atmosphere.
And because a forecast is only as good as the technology available, every drop here gives them new information they'll later analyze on the power of each impactful storm.
Atmospheric river will determine if we're going to have a drought year or a wet year. And that will be even more so in the next few decades.
Because as the ocean warms, the air can hold more moisture, fueling these storms and the flooding associated.
You know, if we have to do this every 5 years, when do you put a check mark to say this enough is enough?
This research has now become a global effort. Starting this year, they're doing this in every ocean basin with a goal of improving the extended forecast.
The idea being that by filling the gaps, the data void over the ocean, we can improve prediction much farther than what we can do right now, possibly for the week 2 of the forecast.
All of this is important because to understand the future, we need to have solid records of the past.
Forecasts can always get better. Our understanding needs to get better too. So every time we go fly, yes, we improve the forecast for that day, but the more often we fly, the more frequently we fly, the more years we fly and develop that large data set, that allows researchers like those at Scripps to actually start analyzing the data and start parsing out what's most important, what's least important.
Laying a foundation to prepare for when extreme weather hits the West Coast. I'm meteorologist Leah Pizzetti.
The war in Iran is hitting close to home. Coming up, how the conflict could impact what farmers plant and what you pay at the grocery store. Ahead on Up with KREM, we're tracking the ripple effect of the Iran war and the tough choices farmers might soon have to make. And from loud noise to stress and even caffeine, the common triggers that could be causing that ringing in your ears. Plus, where Spokane lands on a new nationwide happiness list and how we compare to cities like Seattle and Boise. Good morning. Welcome to Up with KREM. I'm Nicole Hernandez. Let's start with Jenny Power. Jenny, pretty happy that it's the beginning of spring now.
Oh, yes. And to go along with it, we're seeing even a little bit more sunshine, Nicole. So, yes, we have lots of things to cheer for. However, it is going to feel a little bit cooler out there, especially temperature-wise this morning. So with that, enjoy the sunshine. We're also going to be seeing some calmer and lighter winds. The clouds start to make their return for our Monday and kind of move forward here with these cooler but closer to average temperatures. It's quite the swing, though, after we were in the 60s last week. So as we move forward, we are going to gradually see some increasing clouds into this afternoon, as well as into the start of our Monday and the work week. But we're dry for the next couple of days. It's not going to be the case all week long. We'll talk about that in just a moment, but it's something to be aware of. Temperatures this afternoon are trending cooler today in comparison to yesterday. We're in the low 50s this time for Spokane and Coeur d'Alene, mid 50s for Ritzville and Pomeroy, low 50s through the North Idaho Panhandle, and in the upper 50s up toward Omak and into the Okanagan Valley. Now, I am tracking some changes and even some hot conditions for other parts of the U.S. That is ahead.
The Iran war is disrupting shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. Now, American farmers are concerned because fertilizer usually passes through the strait. Prices have already gone up, and farmers are concerned about supply, especially because the spring planting season is starting. Michael Yoshida breaks down what this could mean for food prices.
If we miss that window, we could have catastrophic crop failure.
Alarm bells sounding over disrupted shipping through the Strait of Hormuz and the potential impact to American farmers.
Worst case scenario, a grower may not be able to get a crop in the ground. And of course, that's going to lead to food security conversations.
The waterway is critical for transporting supplies needed to make fertilizers, as well as the finished products, including about half the world's supply of urea, a nitrogen fertilizer for crops like corn. Also, about a third of global exports of ammonia, key for most nitrogen fertilizers, and sulfur, another vital nutrient for crops. Shipments that have essentially stopped since the war.
With the closure of that strait, it's lifted prices here in the United States by several $100s per ton. So that immediately squeezes farmers' bottom line.
I've not seen this level of disruption before. Urea prices are up 50% since that Friday before.
According to the Fertilizer Institute, the U.S. imports about 35% of its fertilizer needs every year, with supplies often arriving just in time for use.
I'm told we still need to import about 25% of our need for March, April, May application.
Now, spiked costs and already low crop prices could lead to tough decisions.
We'll have to adapt either to plant a different crop that is uses less fertilizer or potentially reduce the amount of fertilizer that they use, which could have an impact on crop yields and ultimately prices.
In Washington, Michael Yoshida.
Meanwhile, Iranian leaders say they are working to move their World Cup games from the U.S. The embassy posted a statement. They said Iran wants to move the group stage matches to Mexico for the safety of their players and officials. This would include 2 games in Los Angeles and 1 game in Seattle on June 26th. At this point, we do not know if FIFA has been involved in these conversations. This week, the Idaho Transportation Department needs volunteers for Operation Clean Sweep. Volunteers will help clean up litter along Highway 95 from Athol to Coeur d'Alene. It's happening next Wednesday, March 25th. Last year, ITD says volunteers collected 376 bags of trash and removed more than 13,000 pounds of debris. So if you're interested in helping out, you can sign up on the ITD website. Big changes are in the works for people that live in the East Central neighborhood. The city is working with WashDOT to connect the neighborhood with a land bridge since I-90 runs right through it. It will cost about $8 million. Just a few years ago, you might remember WashDOT had to remove a pedestrian bridge that was falling apart in between the two parts of the neighborhood. Some people who now live there say they support this new bridge because having a freeway dividing them is an inconvenience.
Honestly, if it makes it easier to get across, it is something I would probably use more often. So if like I said, I walk usually around this park area with my dogs because it's right there. It's convenient. I don't have to worry about traffic. If I'm working with the land bridge, I can just go over and I don't have to worry about getting my dogs across the street again when I see people coming speeding off of that 2nd Avenue exit.
Just to be clear, a land bridge is different from a pedestrian bridge, which we can see all through the area. WashDOT says this is a land bridge which is much wider and includes things like nature and community gathering spaces, as opposed to just a bridge that is used to get from one side to the other. So there's a new study out ranking the happiest cities in America. It's based on 11 different happiness factors. It's things like physical and mental well-being, personal finance, and quality of life. Well, Spokane ranks 23rd. Not bad. Based on the data, we've got some of the lowest traffic volume, a high population of people with health insurance, and almost no overcrowded households. Some other nearby cities on the list, Seattle ranked 4th and Boise ranked 6th. As for Portland, they hit 27. Well, right now, the city of Seattle is feeling tension between safety and surveillance. Coming up, why they're putting their plans for CCTV cameras on hold. And Easter, crazy, just 2 weeks away. So if you like dyeing eggs, you definitely need to see this factory in Germany. That's coming up in 15 minutes. Security cameras can help solve crimes, but some people worry those same cameras are an invasion of privacy. Now, on the west side of the state, the city of Seattle is putting a CCTV expansion on hold for the time being. Sebastian Robertson reports.
Expressing all last year.
Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson says more time is needed to study the impact of city-operated surveillance cameras before expanding the previous administration's pilot program, currently running in Aurora, the CID, and downtown.
There's no doubt that these cameras make it easier to solve some crimes, including serious ones like homicides. But also, cameras are not the one key to making our neighborhoods safe. And on the other hand, there are legitimate concerns about privacy, over-surveillance, and potential misuse of surveillance technologies.
The mayor is cutting the cord on some 400 license plate reader cameras used by SPD, mostly found on patrol cars. A decision that comes as Washington lawmakers recently passed new restrictions on how that tech can be used, notably requiring tighter limits on how data is collected, stored, and shared. The mayor also says no video will be shared with federal agents, including ICE, and adds systems could be shut down if there's a surge in immigration enforcement activity.
I know that cameras can be, have been, and will be useful tools to solve crime in Seattle and in countless other cities across the world. I believe in the good faith and good judgment of the people currently operating the RTCC. But too many of the most important protections rely on standard operating procedures rather than clear enforceable policy.
Despite the pause on citywide expansion, there are new cameras coming to Seattle. 26 will be installed in the Stadium District, citing the need for more security during the World Cup.
Do you hear ringing in your ears? It could actually be more serious than you think. What a hearing specialist has to say about tinnitus. Well, I am here with Tina, who is a hearing instrument specialist. And Tina, you're here to talk to us about tinnitus, which in the first place, I would like you to just describe what is that?
Well, most people are going to say ringing in your ears.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if we ask you if you have some ringing, that's what's going to be the first indicator of tinnitus.
And so for people who maybe are experiencing that, didn't realize it maybe was something they should go get checked up for, what is next steps if you start noticing a ringing in your ears?
Well, it's really important. That's a good question because a lot of times that hearing ringing develops. It can come on suddenly. It can come on for lengthy periods of time throughout your lifetime. But when it stays consistent and you hear it regularly, it's very important to have your hearing tested. It is found that it has been connected to hearing loss on many occasions.
Oh, it's something that can get worse over time?
Yes, absolutely.
How many
There is
people does this
stimulant.
affect?
Well, the numbers come in pretty low, in my opinion. A lot of times with a lot of reports that we do, I'm going to give you a good 75% of your hearing loss audience is probably suffering from some form of tinnitus.
Oh, wow. And is this a more like general term, or is it something very specific and treatable?
Well, it never can be cured. Once it happens, it is something that without going into a huge amount of technical terms, you'll see behind me, I have a poster of the inside of the ear canal. A lot of times, anything that goes on in there is going to be neurological to your brain. And when we disrupt that pathway, the brain has to tell you something. And so that tinnitus is a good indicator you have something going on in the hearing area that could be a transferring information incorrectly.
Is there anything you can do to help the symptoms once it has started?
No, unfortunately, not really. We don't have enough information behind us to say, how can this help or can this help? Some people suffer so much worse than others. We have light indicators depending upon the severity of we have found a correlation depending on the severity.
Interesting. So this is something we should really try to prevent. What are ways that we can prevent this from happening?
Well, absolutely. Now, preventing tinnitus is a little harder to do because we are exposing ourselves to some information that maybe our sensitivities are a little different in each human. So each person hears and suffers hearing loss differently. As a standard, we can say if we expose ourselves to a loud noise for a lengthy period of time, we can damage those inner hairs, those cilia. And when that happens, the brain is wanting to give information to that said cilia and doesn't have one. And so it will indicate a pathway of information that screams a high pitch. It can be a clicking. It can be any kind of production sound that you are not hearing in the room or making.
Interesting. So just avoiding some of those more like traumatic loud noises. Gotcha.
Loud noises, avoidance, it's really important. Hearing protection is super important. We want to make sure that you're wearing your protection at any time you feel like something is louder. Even a person can be loud enough to create a problem.
And then as an expert yourself, is there anything else that you think is important people should know real quick?
Absolutely. There is a huge indicator in the field that we know that stimulus is, so stress can be a huge problem for tinnitus. So if you are taking care of yourself, that's going to help take care of that pathway and keep it healthy. One of the things that's important to know that coffee, alcohol, and sugar are the main ingredients that bring it out extreme. It can make it very, very loud and very, very bright. This can actually affect people in their workplace and actually can make you feel uncomfortable talking to another human because you hear this so severely.
Crazy.
I've had patients in my history that have suffered so much that they have had to quit working.
Wow. Wow. Well, thank you, Tina. I know we didn't have time to go over everything that you know, but I really appreciate you being here.
Thanks so much for joining us here on a Sunday. I'm Jenny Power, breaking down your weekend forecast. And folks, as we're waking up on this Sunday, it is a little bit chilly out there after some of our overnight lows actually fell near the freezing mark. As we move forward, our temperatures are trending closer to average, especially for this time of year. And we're catching more of a break, especially when it comes to a little bit more sunshine factored in there. So enjoy it while we have it. Our winds are also going to be trending lighter today and into the start of our work week. Cloudy conditions, though, they come back in for us really on Monday, as well as some slightly cooler temperatures. So that is something to be aware of if you're making any plans. But daytime highs that we're seeing here, low 50s now for Spokane and Coeur d'Alene. We've also got some low 50s up through Bonners Ferry and Sandpoint, upper 40s for Libby and western Montana. 52 for Moscow and Pullman this afternoon, 59 for Moses Lake, 60 for Yakima, and 64 south to the Tri-Cities and into the Richland area. Now, as far as what's to come, yes, we are still going to be dealing with some partly cloudy skies at times. We've got better chances of seeing some nice breaks of sunshine, and we actually hang on to a relatively dry forecast here to start off the work week as well. It's going to change a little bit in our extended forecast as we are going to see the chance for some more spring showers popping up, but we actually have a couple of fairly mild days here ahead of us. Our winds are also trending calmer from the west today in comparison to still those breezy winds that we were dealing with on our Saturday, but mild winds are going to trend for us even through the start of this upcoming work week. It's by Tuesday that we start to see the return of some breezy conditions. But in general, as we take a look here region-wide, even though our temperatures were well above average on Thursday and Friday, we are still trending technically a little bit above that average mark for this time of year. Across the U.S., we've been monitoring for some strong high pressure that has really heated up parts of the southwest U.S. and even led to some record-breaking temperatures that direction. And so we are feeling some of those slight impacts as we are just on the very northern edge of that. Now, as we break down daytime highs here throughout the U.S., I mean, take a look at Phoenix, looking at triple digits this afternoon. 87 for Albuquerque, low 50s, again, just slightly above our seasonal average for this time of year, but very spring-like for the inland Northwest.
Still ahead, how many eggs do you plan to decorate for Easter? One German factory will dye millions of them. A look at their process coming up. Can you believe it? As of today, we're 2 weeks away from Easter.
It has come up so fast. No, I can't believe it.
Do you have any Easter traditions?
You know what I love? A deviled egg.
Me too. My mom's cousin Vicky always brings deviled eggs to Easter, and it was like the talk of the town every year.
See, I don't usually make them during the rest of the year, but around Easter, I'm making some deviled eggs.
Oh, I love that so much. Speaking of eggs, though, another big tradition for Easter is dyeing eggs. So this here is video from a family workshop in southern Germany, which claims to be the oldest egg dyeing facility in the country. In the run-up to Easter, this is crazy, they boil and color up to 34,000 eggs per hour.
Oh my goodness.
Per hour.
That is crazy to think about. Okay, so they say that the secret recipe, which is shellac, carnauba wax, and alcohol. What? So that combination, it hasn't changed in 70 years, they say. But how they keep the yolk perfectly soft, that is what they're going to keep a secret.
Wait, do you eat dyed eggs?
I guess they are. I have never eaten my dyed eggs.
Me neither. I assumed that the dye was like, made them bad to eat.
But maybe not. The more you know. Maybe we could have some colorful deviled eggs.
And all you need is shellac, carnauba wax, and alcohol, and you're good to go.
Yeah, but just to think, 34,000 eggs an
hour?
I thought they were going to say for the whole season.
Same.
Wow.
I like the math on that, on like just a 8 days work is, or 8-hour day of work is crazy.
2.7 million in 2 weeks is what our producer just said in my ear.
That is crazy.
That is insane.
All right, well, happy almost Easter. We're getting there. It's spring.
Yes, it is.
Thanks for being with us here on Up With KREM. Join us back on KREM 2 for Up With KREM tomorrow morning at 5 a.m.
We'll see you there.